Standings.
There we go. Whoop. All right, cool. Oh. Oh, Lena, you're too tall.
I know.
You're too tall for us.
Yeah. We're gonna have to do this.
We're on the same level.
We should all just get
I
down.
could stand and still be good.
That's amazing. All right, here we go. Go. Welcome back to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from the Keeper Institute's San Diego location. Literally, we are training right now as we speak. We are joined by the one and only Tori Corsaro of the Keeper Institute.
That's a warm welcome. Thank you.
And filling in for Saskia Weber, the one and only Lena Perry.
Hello, everyone.
So, Tori, tell us what's going on right here. Why is the Keeper Institute in San Diego?
We're in San Diego. We started at the convention in Anaheim, and then we were out here for 5 days, getting a chance to train some of the NWSL pros. And now we're out here doing a youth camp at 4S, and we're super excited. We've never been on the West Coast. It's the furthest camp that we've done from our actual facility in New Jersey, and getting to kind of reach some people, a handful that we've worked with before, but a whole bunch that we've never trained before.
I mean, I think that's really amazing. And obviously, Lena, this is your first time checking out everything that's going on at the Keeper Institute. What do you think so far, what you're seeing?
I think it's an amazing opportunity for a lot of the kids to have exposure to the proper training and technique and being around professional athletes. It's such an inspiration for them, and they're truly loving every second. And it's such a great opportunity for both sides of the kids training and also being able to coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things about it too, Tori, is that the fact is that, like, obviously, there's been a direct connection with the West Coast for the Keeper Institute for such a long time. Obviously, Kaylin Sheridan, has been involved in the Keeper Institute for years and years and years. When she moved over here to San Diego Wave, you obviously were very familiar with a lot of the coaches out here. Was this just the natural progression to eventually come to the West Coast?
That's a great question. I think there's a lot of people, even on our own staff, that are begging Jill Maria to let us come out this direction, just as a franchise. But I don't know how much that's going to happen. You'd have to talk to the bosses. But in terms of like getting to travel and do camps, that's something that we really enjoy to do, is get to try to reach new markets, get an opportunity to support more goalkeepers, and just try to educate them the best way we know how. So having Kaylin out here was a good direct path to be like, all right, people where we can get fields, you can help us market it, you can get all of the big Kaylin Sheridan fans out here. So it made it a little bit simpler to kind of get that in the works.
I think, Lena, one of the things that you mentioned while we were out there is literally how awesome this is, just this community of not only, these young goalkeepers out here, but these aspiring pros and current professionals, kind of working hand in hand. And, one of the great things is that it's not about necessarily like showcasing like what I can do either as a player or a coach or anything like that, but it's about everyone learning from each other out here.
Yeah. And I think too, goalkeeping, the skills and the coaching techniques, it's kind of now evolving to more, instead of it being a one size fits all, it's more exposed to what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how can you pull from your strengths and capitalize on those and make you the best version of the keeper that you can be. And having something like this where it's encouraging and you feel safe and comfortable doing those things to figure out what it is that you can specialize in or have your strengths in, it's really refreshing to see. And it's not so competitive or cutthroat. It's like very positive and designed for you to work on what you can and get better at. So
I mean, it's a little bit of pandemonium right over here because all these kids are now conversing with each other, Tori, based on all these conversations they're having out there and running these sessions. I think one of the really cool things about this is that it's making a lot of kids recognize, oh my gosh, either I'm not alone out here. There's a goalkeeper like me out there, or oh wow, I never thought about doing it that way before. I've never seen anyone like it. I've never seen someone with a profile like this. I've never seen like someone like me, for instance. A lot of times I'll show up to a camp and it's a 6'3", 6'4", and I'm like, well, I can't relate. And then I see when I go to a camp like this and I meet a goalkeeper similar in profile, I go, oh, I can emulate that type of person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's something that Jill and Maria have created very intentionally, is the culture and the mission of TKI, and trying to live it out as well as model it themselves, but also make sure that as a staff and as everyone who gets the opportunity to work with TKI, they feel like they're part of that mission as well. And I know personally firsthand for me, like that's something that I just always felt was super important and that they've helped me embody throughout my whole career. And that's what TKI has done, is created that environment where no matter where we go, where we train people, where we get a chance to chat with more people, we get an opportunity to kind of live out that mission of like, we're in this together. This is our goalkeeper community. When you come here, you're safe and you're supported, and we want to help you be the best you can be.
Yeah. And sometimes people fly all the way from Hawaii, Louisville, Northern California,
Yeah.
wherever they're coming in from. Now, this is something actually, that I want to talk about as well too, is the fact that, and hopefully we can have Jill on later on today and discuss this as well as Maria. You had 15 pros this week that came out and trained out here in the West Coast with you guys?
Yep. Yeah, 15 pros for 5 days, couple double days, couple single days, and my body's feeling it, but it was a great time. And I think the best part about that, just for me as a relatively young coach too, is just the learning experience. It was a blast to get to aid and support in those sessions, but also just a chance to learn from them and learn alongside them, which was a really cool opportunity.
Yeah. Lena, anything you're picking up from these pros out there that you're going to bring back to your coaching environment?
I would say they definitely have a persona. Like they also all have a type of way that they behave in the net, and I think that also can correlate to confidence and game realistic behavior. And I just love seeing how focused they are, how calm they are under pressure. They're always looking at the details, fine-tuning every rep, and it's very inspiring to be around also such a powerful group of girls that are just awesome athletes.
And I think, one of the things about this too, Tori, in regards to, I think someone brought this up the other day, is that the Keeper Institute, it's not about like, oh, I'm playing at this level and I'm playing at that level, so and so is going to be training with so and so because they're playing at that level, and so is going to be training at so and so that level. You guys are very deliberate in the fact that you make young aspiring professionals train with the best of the best in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that just kind of like you said earlier, like if you can't be it, you can't see it. Yeah. I think it's really difficult. And that's not to say, like just because you've never seen this happen, you can't create it or forge that path yourself. But all of the women and the men that have worked at TKI have been afforded opportunities that we know we were given because of someone else in our career. And that's a sentiment that Jill has made very clear to us, like, hey, you got to remember that, and you have to use that like in your coaching and your life as well. So it's something we try to be intentional about for our youth athletes, whether, they're heading into college, whether they're at college and they aspire to be pros, or whether they're pros that aspire to be on their national team. It's just knowing that we have to help those people kind of through their journey, wherever they're at.
And I also think, one of the really important things right here, Lena, like you were talking about earlier in regards to like the representation, like having these professional goalkeepers out here working with these players, as opposed to being like, on some pedestal, they come out and they sign some autographs and then they walk away. Like you made that comment, like how massive was that? You're like, I wish when I was a kid we had that.
It's the coolest thing, and they have the most resourceful information that works for them, and so for them to be educating and they're here influencing and making that impact and teaching the youth right now, it's like the coolest thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think, one of the things too about that, Tori, is like, I was talking to Betos about this and hopefully Misha will come on later on, but she's saying, hey, we're still in the game. So, it's not conceptual for us. We're actually putting this into practice. So a lot of these young players can talk to, to a Kaylin or a Dee or a Shelby or anybody out there, Liv, and say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And they can be like, well, last week when I was training, this happened with me. And so there's an empathy there, as opposed to like,
for sure.
And I think a lot of times, I don't know about you, but as a coach, sometimes I forget because I'm not putting myself in that playing perspective.
For sure. Yeah, no, I definitely think it's a bit different. Like, that's what's so excellent about having these young professionals that like to coach as well, is that they are being able to conceptualize, they are being able to put it into practice. And we're fortunate and lucky to be able to have that collaboration with them, because for you and me, it is different. Like, we're not stepping on, so we don't see all the same nuances. And as much as we educate ourselves and study the game, there is that little aspect of like, okay, well, what's directly in front of me and how does that change versus like, as I see it from the sideline. So that's why I also think it's super important that we ask our goalkeepers, well, what did you see and why did you make that decision? Because it helps us relate back to what Michelle had said to you.
So I was having a conversation with Lena earlier in the car, and I'm not going to name any names. I don't want to put any young players on blast or anything like that. But let's just say it was a challenging conversation with a younger goalkeeper. And I think one of the biggest problems and something I'm trying to work on better is making sure that I give the why before we go into any sort of session, because I think a lot of the times I've made the mistake in the past of just giving them the information on the session, walking them through the session, but they don't give them the why yet, and then they start wondering like, well, what's the point of all of this? And if it's not working, especially, they start getting frustrated or start thinking about all that. So like, do you guys, like in your coaching style, like do you try to do that, like when you're like, hey, we're going to be doing this and this is why we're doing this, and now let's execute this?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
I'll answer this and then I got to jet back onto the field.
Do your thing.
But for me, I think the biggest thing is it depends on who I'm coaching, and it depends on maybe their headspace as well, because that's super important. Like if I know that you're an overthinker, I might not give you the why, because then you're going to only try to apply that and you're going to base your success and failure on that. Where if maybe you're in a different headspace that day, or you don't tend to be as much of an overthinker as a goalkeeper, then I might be like, hey, today we're working on low diving and it's going to be a high challenge, but I want you to really explore and try XYZ. And for me, that's like the biggest way that I try to add that into my coaching, to give them a little bit of insight in there. Thank you for having me on. I gotta go.
Go run your session.
I gotta go, or I'm gonna get yelled at by my boss. Thanks, guys.
Later. Cool. All right, guys, we'll be back a little bit later on. We'll still stay live over at the Keeper Institute's San Diego location. We'll be back in a few minutes. See you guys soon.